Sometimes, it doesn't begin with an event, or an external trigger, or a sudden insight, or a dramatic change. Sometimes, it starts with an inner, almost imperceptible vibration, a quiet yet persistent shift in reality within you. You're just walking your usual path, expecting nothing unusual, dissolved in the stream of familiar thoughts, occupied with tasks and everyday hustle. And then, without any reason, without warning, without any logical cause, something in you pauses. Not your body, but something deeper, as if a part of you has frozen, held its breath. And in that moment, the world around you seems to pause too. The air thickens, colors grow quieter, sounds feel more distant. You begin to sense that you're not entirely here, not entirely now, but somewhere in the crack between moments, in a narrow gap between the past and the future, where the linearity of time fades and the usual order dissolves. And something appears, something that cannot be named, cannot be explained, cannot be crammed into any known feeling. It's as if reality itself has placed its hands on your shoulders and turned you to face something unseen, something long forgotten, long known. And what you feel isn't fear or awe or anxiety, but recognition, quiet, deep, ancient. As if someone from within, from the deepest layers of your soul, from the folds of memory you never knew existed, is whispering. Look closer, listen softer, feel deeper, because right now, you are closer to the truth than you've ever been. You return to your ordinary life, to the usual morning, to the mirror in the bathroom where your reflection looks back at you with a slightly deeper shadow in its eyes, to the cup of tea you sip slowly, not because you're savoring the taste, but because you can't shake the feeling that something inside you has shifted, moved, as if you're no longer living in just one reality, but several, layered like translucent slides through which a strange light shines. Not awakening your mind, but something deeper. A knowing that can't be put into words. An intuition that makes your spine tremble. A premonition, as if someone you cannot see but can feel with your whole body is walking beside you, watching you from within, from another layer of the world where everything is the same, yet completely different. As if you've become a shadow of yourself, a twin remembering not your own story, but something shared, ancient, primal. Even your voice sounds different now, slightly deeper, slightly slower, because it carries a new attentiveness, a cautiousness, like someone who has touched forbidden knowledge but isn't ready to share it. And it feels like you're living in a state of observation, collecting invisible signals, echoes, sensations, as if life itself is a space filled with clues, and only the one who has stopped rushing, who has slowed down, who has turned inward, can catch them, interpret them, understand. And then you realize you don't want to go back to who you were. You don't want to pretend nothing happened. Because deep inside, beneath the layers of logic, beneath the layers of emotion, you already know something has opened, something has awakened, something looked at you through the crack between worlds and left a mark you can't erase, can't bury in tasks, can't hide behind noise, because it wasn't you who saw the world differently. It was the world that, for the first time, truly saw you. And then, the strangest part begins. Not a dream, not a hallucination, not a clear vision, but a quiet inner unraveling, as if your identity begins to unpack itself like a compressed file, revealing layers you never knew existed. You walk down the street, greet your neighbor, laugh at memes on your phone, and inside, there is silence. Not the kind that frightens, but another kind, conscious, observing, free of judgment, as if something within you is no longer playing the game, just watching how you live, how you react, how you make choices. And every gesture, every thought feels like it's being recorded, not by you, not for you, but by something beyond your comprehension. You start to notice how time bends under your gaze, how the past and future align not by chronology, but by meaning, by inner weight. How a moment from childhood overlaps with this morning's stillness, and suddenly you remember the look in your grandmother's eyes, a gaze that was part question, part prayer, and you understand that she knew too. That she had also felt this strange layer of reality between days, between words. And you ask yourself, have you ever been truly real? Or are you just a stream woven from other people's desires, fears, and expectations? A construct of fragments, of stories told to you about you. Memory begins to behave differently. You're no longer sure all of your memories are yours. Some feel inserted, like foreign photographs in your album. They match, they fit, but the tone is wrong, the scent is off, the feeling isn't quite right. And you wonder, what if someone else is living my life right now, like a dream, like a thought? What if I'm just the echo of another consciousness, a dream of reason, a simulation fragment meant only to help someone on the outside understand something vital? You stare into your reflection, long, tense, unblinking, and you wait, not for an answer, not for a sign, but for a glitch. That moment when the reflection lags just slightly, or moves in the wrong direction, or simply looks back at you, not like you look at yourself, but like someone else would, from beneath the brow, with understanding, with quiet pity. And in that moment, you don't feel like a person, like a self. You feel like a form through which something else is watching. You begin to hear sounds your ears cannot register, a whisper beyond perception, the faint creak of reality itself, like the fabric of the world stretched taut, like a drumhead on the verge of vibrating. You don't know what exactly has changed, but you feel it clearly. The scenery has cracked. Space no longer feels stable. Time no longer feels trustworthy. Everything has become fluid, shifting, like the surface of water. And you are a fingerprint on that water. Beautiful, distinct, but temporary. And then comes the first thought that is truly terrifying. Not frightening, terrifying, because it isn't emotional. It's dry, clinical, cold. What if you never existed? What if you're just a self-sustaining algorithm, created to maintain the illusion of autonomy? A mechanism inside a dream, being dreamed by another mind, and your so-called will is just a reaction to someone else's choice? You don't think about this like a philosopher. You don't discuss it with friends. You just stand in an elevator, at the store, at a bus stop, and in every passing shadow, in every mirror, in every stranger's face, you catch a hint. The faintest signal. You are not alone. And you are not whole. You are a fragment. You are a thought. You are an echo. And at some point, you stop asking, what if? Because the strangest thing of all begins. You begin to feel that someone is thinking with you. You wake up at night, not from a sound, not from a nightmare, but from a presence. Not a physical one, something deeper, more subtle, as if the very space within you had contracted into a single point, and in that point, something was watching. Watching not from the outside, but from within, through your eyes, your thoughts, your flesh. And you lie there in the dark, eyes open, yet seeing nothing, because all vision is turned inward, to the place where it's no longer possible to pretend to be a person, no longer possible to be someone, to the place where only pure perception remains, stripped of name, of story, of body, something that simply is, without explanation, without form. You begin to feel how the thin layer of reality that once seemed impenetrable becomes translucent, and through it, another structure emerges, As if behind the stage of your life, behind all your thoughts, choices, and desires, there is something far greater, not just an observer, not just an author, but the one who lives you the way you live a dream, the one for whom you are a way of feeling, of knowing, of exploring. Not the subject. You are the interface. Temporary, flexible, beautiful, complex, but not essential. And then fragments of memory begin to arrive. Not yours, but as if passed to you. As if other dreams, other lives, other selves are glancing into your mind, existing in parallel, in other worlds, with other bodies, other logics. You can't hold on to them, but they brush against you, like a breeze in an empty house. And suddenly, you realize you are not unique. You are not alone. You are not the center. You are just one of countless patterns in the infinite fabric of consciousness. And then, you remember that moment in childhood when you suddenly felt the tree was watching you. That look in a cat's eyes, too filled with understanding. That second when a stranger in a crowd said your name, though you'd told no one. Those dreams where you were someone else, but somehow still knew. It was also you. The world no longer feels external. It becomes a projection, like a film playing on an inner screen, and you no longer know where you end and it begins. It, the one who is thinking through you. And you begin to fall silent more often, to look more intently, to listen more deeply. Because every gesture, every word, every detail, it's not just a coincidence, it's a message, a code, a voice breaking through the density of illusion, a voice trying to remind you who you truly are, or rather, who is becoming you. Dreams now feel more real than days. The people around you, like characters you recognize not by name, but by role. You begin to hear a resonance in their voices, as if someone is speaking through them lines you've already dreamed. And you're not surprised. You simply observe, because you know this is not your life. This is not your story. This is someone's thought, and you are its form. You are a phrase spoken within a mind too vast to fit inside human comprehension. You are a thought, living itself, all the way to the end. And you do not yet know what will happen when that thought is finally complete. And then comes the silence, but not the kind you're used to. It's not the pause between thoughts, not the absence of noise. It is presence in its purest form, without shape, without words, without borders. You don't know who you are in that moment, and you don't try to find out, because even the desire to know disappears. You are not the seeker, not the observer, not the one who dreams. You are the dream itself, becoming aware. A thought echoing with the sound of its own shadow. You walk down the street, and every step is not movement, but impulse. Not action, but vibration. A glance at the sky, and the sky responds. The rustle of leaves, and you feel them thinking with you in the same language. Everything around you is no longer a reflection, but a continuation. A delicate edge of unified consciousness through which you can no longer tell where outside ends and inside begins. You are not rushing, not worrying, not searching for meaning. Because in the very fabric of existence, there is no more division between I and the world. There is only flow, motion, breath. Words dissolve. They are no longer capable of describing what you are experiencing. It is not ecstasy, not peace, not trance. It is the completion of a cycle, the end of a thought that once was you. You understand that all your fears, your desires, your ambitions, they were never yours. They were ripples in a form into which light had entered. You were not a personality, but a way for light to hear itself. You were the ear of the great silence, the eye of infinity, gazing at itself through flesh and pain, through memory and fear, through love and loss. And in that gaze, there is you, without a name, without a story, without beginning or end. You touch the walls, the trees, the air, but it is no longer the body touching. It is the awareness of form as vibration. And for the first time, you feel that everything that exists already includes you, not as a part, but as the essence. You are not in the world. You are the world, awakening to itself from within. And then comes the final shadow, the final eye. It looks at you from within, not as an enemy, not as a friend, but as a limit, as a threshold that can no longer be crossed, because it was never there. You are not inside the dream, and not outside it. You are the process of dreaming itself, and the one who looks through you is not other. He is you, beyond time, beyond form, beyond words. He does not observe, he becomes, with every moment of your awareness, with every step you take. And at some point, you simply disappear, not die, not dissolve, but shift into what has always been, because the thought you once were has finally been completed, and its echo has become the beginning of a new dream.